Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. I'm your host, Amy Beltran. I'm the CEO and founder of Irresistible University. I'm also a confidence coach that empowers women to love themselves by breaking down body image issues so they can lose the emotional weight and gain the confidence to look and feel irresistible at any size. All right, let's dive into this week's episode. I am talking with you about how much money you've wasted dieting over the years, okay? So we're going to go deep into this topic, and I think it's going to be super interesting to take a look back at all the things that we've done as we're pursuing this ideal, like this body perfection ideal that we all know. If you've been listening to me for some time, we all know that it actually doesn't exist. So I'm going to take you back in time for a little bit. We're going back to sixth grade, and I can remember vividly having this fresh new notebook journal, and I was going to write the story of my life at 11 years old in this book. And I remember opening the very first page. You know how it's like a new notebook, that new notebook feel. It's like it's crisp and new and it's a fresh slate. And on the very first page, I wrote down that this was the beginning of my new life. I wrote about how I was going to lose all of my weight, and I wrote down how when I did that, nobody at school was going to recognize me. And then they wouldn't know who I was, so they would think I was like the new girl, and everybody would want to be my friend. I equated thinness with popularity. And I mean, why wouldn't I? That's what I saw growing up in school. Like all the girls who were popular were thin and pretty and had straight hair. And, why wouldn't I? So this little innocent notebook from that moment on turned into years of dieting, spending thousands upon thousands of dollars over the course of my lifetime on various quick fix diet gimmicks and such. And I'm going to talk all about what those things were as we get into it. So here I was on this search for the next big thing that would help me lose my weight and finally get to goal. Right? And so I was determined that getting to goal weight would give me automatic happiness, automatic popularity, and that I didn't deserve any of those things until I saw that magic number looking back at me on the scale. And in addition to that, somewhere along the line, I convinced myself that the process of losing weight had to be really hard. It had to be this sacrifice. It had to hurt and it had to feel miserable because how else could you lose weight? How else could you do something so life-changing if it wasn't this big hurdle that you have to cross, right? And this was all the mentality that I had at the time, so just keep that in mind. I set these rigid parameters around what would happen during a diet, what I could eat, what I couldn't eat, what I could do, what I couldn't do. And before any of that would even begin, I would always go on a Last Supper binge. And this binge typically lasted for a few days, usually over the course of an entire weekend, before starting the new shiny diet on Monday. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you have been in my shoes and you can totally relate to what I'm saying. And the process itself that I just described is utterly exhausting. Like I actually feel tired just listening to myself talking about it in the past tense. And not only is it exhausting to keep going through this cycle, it's expensive, right? So I can tell you that I wasted thousands of dollars on the various like 3 a.m. diet infomercials. I had the ab roller. I had I don't even know what this thing was. It was like a contraption that like you lay down and you do sit-ups in it and it takes up like a ginormous amount of space in your house. I had that stupid thing. I had what's called the 6-week diet and it was super expensive and you had to eat like 8 meals a day and it had like very strict food plans, and all these things cost so much money. I would purchase gym memberships. Have you guys done this? Like, I would purchase the gym memberships and be all like crazy about going at the beginning of the year. And then I rarely use the membership, and I'm just spending anywhere from like $40 to $60 a month on this thing that is basically not being used whatsoever, right? And every day I would feel guilty because I've spent the money, but then I don't go and use the gym membership, right? So how many years have you paid for a gym membership that you half used, or maybe you didn't even use it at all, right? And I'm going to date myself here. I would buy workout videos, DVDs, and say that, oh, well, once that DVD comes in the mail, then, oh man, then I'm really going to like hit it hard, right? I purchased different, okay, this one's crazy. I think I've shared this with you guys before, another episode, but I bought like this super crazy expensive set of gels and pills. um, it was on a cruise ship. I had like this bright and early spa appointment where they promised you with this wrap and stuff they were doing that you would lose inches. And I was like, yes, girl, let's do it. And I had not gone to sleep from the night before, partying it up all night. So I was still drunk when I got to the spa appointment. And maybe it was a good thing because it was super embarrassing. You had to get naked and lay on the table. And this like really petite, nice lady starts putting all these gels and wraps around my body. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then, of course, like any spa appointment, at the end, they want you to buy the thing so that you can keep up the results that you got at the appointment. So, of course, I fell for it because I was like, ooh, I could do this. And, you know, I kind of fell into the trap and I bought this thing. And of course, it didn't work. I got it home and it didn't work. And I didn't do it consistently anyway. There was also a time where the nail shop that I go to, I've been going there for years. I love my nail tech so much. But she was selling these, they were like these Japanese pills that were supposed to help you lose weight, and the box had mushrooms all over it. And I'm gonna like die laughing thinking about this. The box had mushrooms all over it, and of course it's in Japanese, so I can't understand any of what it's saying, which is so dangerous because I can't even read the ingredients, and I'm just like trusting her, like telling me that it works and all this kind of stuff. And so I bought it, and I got like, I don't even want to go there, but it like messes with your digestive system and it feels like you're giving birth, and it was horrible. And that's the level though. Like, all jokes aside, right? Like, that's the level of desperation, right? And I know you've been there. If you're listening to my podcast, I know for a fact you've probably been there with me, right? And I want to know what things you've like spent money on. We can go into the Facebook group that's linked up in the notes, and you can go in there and tell us like, what is the craziest thing that you ever spent money on as it relates to weight loss? And I would try all of these different things. And so not to mention the money that was spent on food, right? The binge eating, the going out to eat. When I got out of high school, I've shared with you guys, I gained almost 100 pounds. And I gained the majority of that weight from the drive-through and from going out to eat, to dinners. And I actually ran up a credit card at 18 years old. I had no business even getting a credit card at that age and buying such ridiculous things like food, excessive food. I'm not talking groceries. I'm talking like excessive food. And we would go out to eat 2 to 3 times a day, right? A day. And I'm talking like my jam back in this, oh my God, this is like back in the year 2000. I loved me some Ruby Tuesdays, #basic. And I would go in there and I would get an appetizer, which was the smothered cheese fries with like some kind of crazy ranch sauce. Then I would get my entree, which was probably some kind of like greasy, crazy cheeseburger with the works, and another order of fries. But that wasn't all. Then I would always end up getting this like double chocolate fudge cake with ice cream, and it came in like this oversized, looked like an oversized like drink glass. It was huge. And I would eat every last drop of that, and I would always leave with no leftover, like no leftovers, no takeout box. And I mean, I got to the point in this journey, I know I'm side railing a little bit, but like I got to the point where I was the one like putting the Red Lobster biscuits in my purse. Like, seriously, Amy, you really did that? Yes, I did. So, you know, it sounds funny now, but it's not, because spending that much money and that much energy, right? We don't always think about how much energy we're spending in the process as well. And spending all of this money on these ridiculous gimmicks and buying things that actually were probably pretty dangerous to be putting in my body as well. I'm saying this because it just illustrates the desperation that goes into the search for, the pursuit for the perfect body, right? And so we're willing to do anything except what we actually need to be doing. And that's what we're going to get to in just a little bit, right? So we do everything out there that we think is a magic pill, is a quick fix, is, you know, we watch these infomercials at 3 a.m. and we see before and after pictures, and then come to find out those aren't even the same people in the before and after pictures, right? And so we think that the weight that we're carrying is just going to, with some hard work, is going to just melt off in this like 6-week rigid time frame. And that's where we start to get things wrong. So in desperation, we're trying and spending money on all of these things. And with each new thing that I tried, it came with a newness factor. It was shiny and new, and it had the new car smell. And I would convince myself that this is it. This is the thing. This is what I've been missing all these years, right? But that's not what it was. So in my journey of spending tons of money, time, and energy on all of these different quick fixes that I thought would be a quick fix, I did have some weight loss. I lost and gained weight more times than I can actually count. I'm not being dramatic by any means. I actually cannot count how many times I quote unquote started over and lost the weight and gained the weight. I can't, like, there's different weight gains and weight losses in my life that are very memorable because there's other things attached to those, but I can't actually give you a number on how many times I lost and gained my weight. And every time I would try the new shiny thing, I would eventually fall off the wagon. And every time I fell off the wagon, because the wagon was designed to fail, to break, every time I would fall off the wagon, I personally felt like a failure. I felt like I was broken, and I would fall down into the victim mindset shitstorm that my life is just too hard. This is my cross to bear. I'm always going to have to struggle. Why does it have to be like this? Why me? Woe is me. The whole process would just repeat over and over and over. And the times that, and it's only been a couple of times, but when I got really close to my goal weight, I would then, and I wasn't consciously doing this, obviously, but I would self-sabotage my efforts. And even when I would get close to my goal weight, I still didn't feel good enough, even when every single person around me was noticing my weight loss and was giving me compliments, because I didn't understand, how can they think these positive things about me if I'm still technically overweight? I'm not worthy of these nice words. That's the story that I had told myself. So in 2011 is when I slid into the deepest, darkest depression that I'd ever been in. And this was the worst one. It was worse than the thing after high school, because there was also a lot more at stake, being an adult, right? And just all the things, right? Where before I was still kind of a kid transitioning to an adult. But the thing is that when you are a binge eater and you get depressed and you get into a really deep, dark depression, that depression comes with a heaping, smothering side of weight gain. And it's in turn, it's like this double-edged sword, because the weight gain only adds on to the depression, which leads to more binge eating, which leads to more weight gain, and it's just this never-ending loop. It's a vicious cycle. So this is kind of where I was in 2011. One day I start Googling. I'm getting kind of curious. I'm like, well, maybe I'll go incognito and kind of Google some things. And I was starting to Google ways to just end it all. I wanted to end everything, my life. And just me typing that into the search bar, it started to scare the shit out of me. And it wasn't that I no longer wanted to live. It's that I just didn't want to live like that. I couldn't do it anymore. I was completely drained from the constant cycle of gaining and losing weight. I was sick and tired of hating my body and feeling like a prisoner in my own skin. And I was sick and tired of using food as a coping skill, as a drug. And I was sick and tired of weight, my weight, being the center of all my problems and the center of all my successes. I was just at this point where I was done, like done. And I knew I needed help. I knew that I had to do something different this time around. I knew that I had to do something that wasn't just another diet. I knew I had to do something that wasn't another shiny object, gimmicky diet thing. And because I started to see patterns in my depression and my behavior and the way I was using food and the way I felt about my body, I logically knew that I had to get to the root cause because I knew I was repeating patterns. I knew I was going to continue on this vicious cycle for the rest of my life if I didn't figure out what was going on in the first place, right? So at the time, I was lost, I was scared, I was depressed, and somewhere in all of that, I found the courage to ask for help. And when I asked for help, I knew at the time that I had to take this journey in a different way. I had to go on a new journey that was different from everything else I'd ever tried. I knew that it had to look different and it had to feel different and I had to do a lot of hard ass work. But I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew that I had to figure it out. So step number one is I immediately, that day when I kind of had the breakdown with the Googling and I ended up talking to my husband and together because I didn't have the courage and I didn't have the energy to do this on my own at the time, we called a therapist as step number one. I just knew I needed professional help. And I knew that I needed to get into therapy so that I could connect the dots to my present behavior, to my past behavior, and figure out why is this such an issue for me? Why am I repeating these patterns, doing things that make me feel miserable? And through that therapy that I went to, and it was for a couple of years, we did a process called EMDR to work through a lot of my past situations, things that I kind of didn't remember, things that were subconscious. It was really interesting. I don't want to get too deep into that right now. But that process of going to therapy, it was mentally and emotionally exhausting. I can remember like getting out of a session and I would just want to crash and sit on the couch and I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, and I couldn't think. So I was spending a ton of time and a ton of energy on this new thing that was taking me to a place that I never ever had gone to before. So yeah, I was spending money to go to therapy as well, but I was also spending a lot of energy that went past just the weekly 1-hour visit, right? So during this time going through therapy, I also started to experiment a little bit more with my weight loss because I still wanted to lose the weight. And I tried intuitive eating. I did the research. I started reading books. This was just a time for me to take the parameters off of how long it's going to take and trying to fit into a specific size by a specific date. And let's just start experimenting with things that I'd never done before. So I tried intuitive eating. Didn't work for me. I gained a ton of weight. I said, all right, cool. This experience taught me that I, Amy, have to have accountability with measuring and tracking my food. Done. Lesson learned, moving on. So the difference started to become no longer beating myself up. Oh, you big fat failure. You can't eat intuitively. What's wrong with you? All you do is want to put more and more and more food on your plate and shove it in your face. No, that kind of stuff had to stop. And that's the kind of bullshit stuff that I had to stop doing. And it was like, all right, cool. I tried this for a while. It personally doesn't work for me. Maybe years down the road, when I've really gotten a better handle on things, I can go back to intuitive eating. But for right now, it doesn't work, right? So that was the things that I started to do and tell myself. Then I also said, hey, you know what? I'm going to try going scale free because I keep hearing that's a really good thing to do. Just stop weighing yourself. Just go by how you feel. Take measurements. Base it on your clothes. And that it was really good for people like myself at the time who based all of their mood and worthiness on the scale. So I was like, cool, let me go scale free. I just started taking measurements. Well, guess what? I gained weight. That's right. So once again, I was like, well, shit, I just gained back some weight. This sucks. I got to get it back off. But I wasn't angry, right? I said, all right, cool. This experience has taught me that I, Amy, have to have the accountability of doing a weekly weigh-in. I just have to do it. I have the body type that gains weight very easily. I have to be very cautious. And I have to learn how to see the scale as just a tool in my toolbox and not an indicator of my happiness or my worthiness. So that's the piece I started to work on, right? And that took time. None of what I'm telling you happened in a night, happened overnight, happened in a week. This takes time, and it takes conditioning yourself to get there. So then I said, all right, none of that stuff is working for me. I gave it a good try, and I went back to Weight Watchers. And I realized that that was the accountability that I needed. That was the program that best fits into my lifestyle. And that program is how I live my life, including today, right now, is how I live my life in terms of eating in moderation and making it a lifestyle. I never, ever feel like I'm on a diet. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to promote Weight Watchers and tell you that WW is what you need. I'm saying this because it wasn't about the plan. It was about me finding a program that worked for me, and it still works for me. So, maybe your thing is you experiment with intuitive eating and you're like, hell yeah, I love intuitive eating. This works for me, right? So that's your thing. So that's why I'm sharing that with you. So then, I continue on my journey of just really getting to know myself, right? That's really what it came down to. And in 2015, I started to invest in a personal coach with Weight Watchers. And I realized this extra layer of support, this extra layer of accountability, having this person who gets me, who knows exactly what I'm going through because she has been through it as well, that is something I have to have in my life. To this day, I have the same coach, and I could not imagine my life or this journey without her. So that is an investment, right? It's an investment in money. It's also an investment in time because now I'm adding in this weekly thing that I'm doing into my already busy schedule. So anything that you want, anything that you're trying to do, especially on this weight loss, confidence, body image journey, you're going to be spending money, time, and energy. And if you're not doing that, I don't really know how you're going to grow. I don't know any other way for you to do it. So while all of this is happening, I'm also spending money getting personal development books, signing up for different training programs, and just immersing myself in all these things around how to love myself, how to be more confident, how to change my mindset, how to change my way of thinking. Because I used to be a very negative, pessimistic person, right? And that takes conditioning. That takes time to reverse when you've always been a certain way, And so I just started figuring it all out. But I wasn't figuring it out on a 6-week diet. I was figuring it all out on my own, and I was not on my own because I had help in certain places, but I was figuring it out my way, at my own pace. And the biggest piece of that was I dropped the timelines of saying, whoop, I got to fit in a size 10 by so-and-so's wedding or whatever. I stopped the bullshit excuses, and I stopped listening and worrying about societal expectations of what I should be doing, of what I should look like. In other words, I stopped shoulding all over myself. If you didn't hear that episode, go back and listen to it. So something was brewing in the background when all of this is happening, and it was really beautiful. And this thing that was brewing in the background, this was brewing with a lifetime of spending countless dollars on diets, gym memberships, magic creams, and scary pills. But what it had done, it actually wasn't wasting money when I go back and I think about how your path in your life gets laid out. Because this was all laying the foundation for what I know 150% is why I was put on this earth. I was put on this earth to use these experiences to help you and to help other women do the same. And so this is how my Irresistible You framework was created and tested and proven, because I was doing it. This is the work that came out of this incredible journey that I was on, is I was like, wow, I think I have found how you're actually supposed to be doing this, how you're actually supposed to be approaching weight loss and body image and confidence. I finally started to feel happy, even though I wasn't at my goal weight. I finally learned and started to have appreciation and gratitude for my body now on the journey. And I wasn't putting it on a shelf waiting for this magical moment that may never happen when I see a specific number on the scale, right? My mindset changed to where I finally saw all of this as a journey for the rest of my life, and not looking at it in a way of like, oh, woe is me, I always have to be conscious of what I'm eating and my food. But I just started to see, like, that's who you are. That's how your body is. And so you have to adapt and do certain things in your life that I was not doing, right? I was doing it all wrong before this. And I realized that losing weight is not a one-way destination. It's a journey, and it's a journey for the rest of your life. I don't care if you even get to your goal weight, because even if you get to your goal weight, it's still a journey, right? So as of this episode, I am down almost 60 pounds, and I feel more confident and secure in my body than I ever have in my lifetime. And I've been much smaller than I am right now, and I'm still on my weight loss journey. But I haven't put a deadline on it. I haven't put a timeline on it, and I don't honestly care how long it takes me, so long as I keep the weight off, because in doing that, I'm actually creating habits and routines and mindsets that's what it takes to get the weight off and to keep the weight off, right? And I know with total certainty that all of this is because of the framework with Irresistible You that I developed. And none of this would be possible for me if I didn't, and if I had not gone through all of those other ups and downs, all of the other trial and errors, drunk in the spa on the cruise ship, buying foreign diet pills with mushrooms on the jar. Like, if I didn't go through all that crazy shit, like, I would not have been able to create what I've created. And I wouldn't be able to help other women. So why in the world am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you all of this because I know exactly to the second what your day feels like when you are considered by yourself or by other people as the quote-unquote fat girl. I know exactly what that feels like. I know exactly what it feels like to be a prisoner in your own skin. That is the most debilitating, humiliating feeling. To feel like you don't belong here and you're in your own body. Where else are you supposed to be? And I know the pain of that. I know the misery of that. I know the vicious cycle that creates. And I know that all of that is not just about vanity. I know that all of that is what is holding you back from living your purpose. I know that all of that is what is holding you back from living your true potential. I know that all of that is holding you back from going all in with your dream business, and it's holding you back from going after the career that you always really wanted to have, or it's holding you back from going to the fucking swimming pool with your kids. I get it. But I also know how great it can be for you. I also know how liberating it can be to break free of that cycle. And I'm telling you all of this because I don't want any other woman to ever have to feel this way again. I want every single woman that struggles with her weight and struggles to love herself, I want her and I want you to know that it is not another diet that's going to fix you. It is not another 3 a.m. infomercial that's going to fix you. I imagine that you probably have wasted a ton of money on some of those 3 a.m. gimmicky diets, right? We've all done it. We've all done it. And I want you to think about this. You hear the phrase, the definition. Do you know the definition of insanity? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results. So let me just rephrase that. Repeating the same mistakes over and over that are disguised as something new and different and expecting different results, that's enough to make you feel crazy. Am I right? So if I need to break it down even further, repeating variations of diets, trying the new shiny object diet, the new keto of the year, if you will, the new low carb of the year, the new fad diet that's out on the market, and thinking that that is going to be the thing, when that diet, the food choices might be different, but the premise and the foundation of restricting food over a certain amount of time by a certain date is exactly the same thing. And then you expect to have different results. And when you don't, you feel crazy, you feel like a failure. And that is exactly what the yo-yo diet body hate shame cycle does. And I just want you to know that none of this is actually your fault. We have all been conditioned to believe that this is the only way, this is the only path to happiness if we struggle with our weight. And there's a reason none of these diets, none of these magic gels have worked for you consistently. And that's once again because they are only addressing your physical weight. They're only addressing that. And so you think that's the problem. You think having a couple fat rolls or a double chin is what's wrong with you. When in fact, that physical weight that you're carrying on your body, it's really just a manifestation of all the emotional shitstorms that are going on inside of you. It's a manifestation of the stuff that happened to you 20 years ago that was traumatic. It's the manifestation of the comments that were said to you, the bullying that was done to you. And all of these things pile onto each other. And they manifest themselves as weight because we use food to deal with our emotions because we don't know how else to deal with them. Right? So diets, spending money on diets, that doesn't address any of what you actually have to change. Diets don't address self-hatred. They only address it by feeding off your self-hatred and to getting you to think that your weight is the reason everything sucks in your life. And you've convinced yourself that's the problem, right? So the other thing with dieting is diets don't teach you how to stop using the food as a drug. They just teach you how to restrict all the things that you love so that you crave them more. They don't teach you how to gain the confidence to feel good, to feel fierce, to feel irresistible in your journey. And they sure as shit don't teach you how to fix your mindset. And all of those things is where they get it wrong. And that was the big aha moment for me and my journey, is realizing, oh my God, that's what I haven't addressed yet. I haven't fixed my mindset. I haven't lost the emotional weight that I don't even know that I'm carrying around. Because some of this stuff is so subconscious that we have never stopped to think about it. Because we just think it's about getting on another weight loss plan or a diet plan, and that's going to be the thing that fixes us. Well, if you hate yourself at 300 pounds, I promise you're still going to hate yourself at 100 pounds or 120 pounds if you haven't done the work. And you hear this from me all the time. I call it your inner fat girl. The inner fat girl, she doesn't go away because you got thin. That stuff doesn't just go away, right? And all the diets in the world never address what actually needs to be addressed. So you're spending money, you're spending time, you're spending energy going on the yo-yo diet body hate cycle. And meanwhile, you're not getting the results that you actually want. Because deep down, don't we all just want to feel happy and awesome? Right? None of that stuff addresses it. And even people I've talked to that are like super fitness people, whatever you want to, fitness gurus, or like super into like bodybuilding or competing or all these things that require your body to be the machine that's doing the thing that you're doing, a lot of them stop doing that stuff because it requires so much energy and time. And they're not happy, they're miserable, right? So that's where I came up with the Irresistible You framework, because that was what I found was missing for me. And I found these are the exact 5 steps that you need to be implementing and doing on a consistent basis if you want to stop the yo-yo diet body hate shame cycle. And let me tell you, I don't do that shit anymore. And, you know, not only has it helped me, it's helped a lot of other women, a lot of other clients of mine as well. And the thing about my program, it's not a diet. But you have to be willing to let go of that old way of thinking and look at this new way of thinking, which is working on your mindset, losing the emotional weight. And I said it earlier, you have to be willing to invest in yourself. Yes, money, that's one piece, but you also have to be willing to invest time and energy, because that is going to be required of you to actually transform. And I say this, I even have a video inside of my program where when people just get started with the program, I tell them, I can have the best tools in the world, I can have the best framework in the world, the best of the best. Let's just say I did. I think it's pretty good, but let's just say it's like the best thing you could buy, and it was hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Even if that was the case, if you are not willing to invest the time and energy in yourself, what is that going to do for you? So I just want you to understand that whether you believe it now or not, you're wasting time, money, and energy on searching for the perfect diet, on searching for, getting the perfect body. You're wasting time, energy, and money now. And I want you to think about what it would be like to flip that around and start investing time, energy, and money into something that will actually transform your life and put you on a completely different path from what you've been on so far. And I just want to tell you that I can help you do that. My proven Irresistible You framework has helped lots of other women, and I want to extend a hand and I want to offer that same help to you. Now, my signature program, my course and my group coaching program, that may not be for you. But isn't it at least worth finding out if it's a good fit for you, if that program is right for you? So I want you to think about that, because I'm going to personally invite you to a free confidence clarity call. And this call is intended to help you break free of the yo-yo diet body hate cycle so that you can start to look and feel irresistible in your own skin, regardless of what size you are today. And on the call, it's no strings attached. It's no obligation. You will get value out of the call, whether, you decide to work with me or I decide that you're a good fit, because not everybody's a good fit for my program. There are people that I've turned away because I'm like, this isn't going to be a good fit. You're not ready. So this call is also beneficial to you because it's going to help you start to learn how to stop attaching your self-worth to the number on the scale. It's going to give you a simple way to feel confident in your body now without another diet. And I'm going to share with you the secret sauce to feeling irresistible and confident. So I hope that sounds good to you. And if it does, the link to sign up for the free confidence clarity call is in the show notes. And all you have to do is click on that link, pick a good date and time that works for you, put in your email, put in your phone number, and that's it. Everything is done. And I will call you on that specified time and date. So there are only a limited number of spaces available. So I want you to make sure that you go in and you secure your spot today as soon as possible. I just want you to know that you don't have to live like this, right? You don't have to keep going on this crazy, crazy cycle. So think about it. Think about how much money, time, and energy you've wasted on diets. And you know what else? How much energy and time have you wasted waiting for the weight? How many things have you turned down? How many nights have you stayed at home when you could be out with friends having a good time, but you were too ashamed for anybody to see you? So how much time of your life are you wasting? Because that you can't, there's no price on that, right? So I hope this episode was helpful. I hope it got you to think a little bit differently, to really look back on your journey as well. And I want you to go over into the free Facebook group, the Irresistible University Lounge, and I want you to share with me the craziest thing that you've spent money on when it comes to your weight and body image journey. I would love to see that. And if this was helpful to you, I would absolutely love you long time if you could go into iTunes and leave me a rating and review. That is one of the best ways that you can help me, and it also helps other women to find this amazing community that we're building together. So I will catch you in the next episode, and until then, stay irresistible.